an honor to have this spontaneous gathering with us even before our rally starts. I wish it were on better occasion, but look behind you there. That right there is Justin Trudeau and the NDP's cruel April Fool's Day joke on Canadians. It is a joke without laughter. It is a joke that brings tears to the eyes of most Canadians, because after 8 years of Trudeau and his coalition with the NDP, everything costs more. 2 million Canadians line up at food banks because they can't afford food. 1/3 of food-related charities are turning Canadians away because they've run out of food. In Montreal, a couple of weeks back, there was a small riot after the food ran out and the police had to be called because there were too many hungry people on the streets clamoring for something to eat. In St. John's, Newfoundland, there are 28 dead bodies left in refrigerators outside of a hospital because families could not afford a funeral or cremation. Can you imagine that? Leaving your aunt, your father, your sister, your brother in a freezer next to a dumpster at a hospital because you cannot afford to give them a dignified goodbye. These are the kinds of stories that we see after 8 years of Trudeau. Homeless encampments are now common in almost every community in the country. We all remember the downtown east side of Vancouver. Well, Justin Trudeau and the NDP have taken that model nationwide. They've doubled housing costs with rent, mortgage payments, and down payments now costing twice what they did 8 years ago when Trudeau promised to lower them. Then we have the crime because of catch and release, decriminalization of drugs, and wasted money pursuing a ban on hunters and sport shooters. We have crime and chaos everywhere in our streets. Violent crime up 40%. Shootings up over 100%. 40,000 people have died of drug overdoses as the Prime Minister floods our streets with tax-funded opioids. And his solution to all this misery is today to hike the carbon tax by 23%. This is not just a tax at the pump. It's a tax on your heat, a tax on your food, because if you tax the farmer who grows the food and the trucker who ships the food, you tax all who buy the food. It is a tax that will cost the majority of families in every single province more than they get back. In Alberta, the average family will pay $900 more this year than they get back in rebates. In Saskatchewan, $525 more than they get back in rebates. In Manitoba, $502 more. In Ontario, $627 more. In Nova Scotia, $537 more. In Prince Edward Island, $550 more. And in Newfoundland and Labrador, $377 more in tax costs than you get back in rebates. And in BC, it's worst of all. Here, the NDP government is expected to collect $9 billion more in carbon taxes in carbon taxes and give back $3.5 billion in credits. So you can tell there's a big difference between 9 and 3.5. That's $5.5 billion in net taxes out of the pockets of British Columbians. It is a combined tax imposed by Trudeau in Ottawa, but happily administered by the NDP government of David Eby here in British Columbia. My friends, the good news is life was not like this before Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone. There will be a carbon tax election with a very clear choice between Trudeau, a costly coalition of Trudeau and the NDP, who tax your food, punish your work, take your money, double your housing costs, and unleash crime and chaos in your community, or common sense conservatives, who axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Common sense conservatives will axe the tax to bring down costs on our farmers, on our small businesses, on building materials. We will cap government spending and cut waste to balance the budget so we can bring down inflation and interest rates, and your dollar will carry its purchasing power forward into the future. Speaking of powerful paychecks, we'll remove government gatekeepers to develop our resources again. Our fisheries, our forestry, our farmers, our factories will come roaring back to life, producing more of the goods that money buys rather than just producing money. We're going to bring home the production to Canada. We're going to incentivize our municipalities to speed up and lower the cost of building permits. We'll require they permit 15% more housing completions per year as a condition of getting federal funds so that they get out of the way and let builders build. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings, thousands of acres of federal land to build, build, build. We'll back up the trades so we have more builders to do the work. We need more boots and not more suits. And we will ensure these homes are in safe neighborhoods. With jail and not bail for repeat violent offenders, with treatment, not more decriminalized and subsidized drugs, so that we can rehabilitate our loved ones and bring them home drug-free. We will stop the attack on law-abiding, lawful hunters and sport shooters. We know that our hunters are not the problem. It is the criminals who bring the guns over the border illegally. We'll put the money into reinforcing our ports and our borders so that we keep the illegal drugs and guns out of our country, and we bring home safety to all Canadians. This is the hopeful, bright, and optimistic future that awaits with a common-sense Conservative government that will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now have time for a few questions from the floor.
Thank you.
Hi there, Jordan Davidson, and IMO News Now. If your party removes the carbon tax, what would that mean for provinces like BC who have implemented their own?
It will give the British Columbia government the authority to do the same. Right now, Justin Trudeau has basically threatened BC. He said either BC will bring in its own carbon tax, or if it doesn't, the Trudeau government will force one from Ottawa. By removing that threat, British Columbians can elect a common-sense provincial government that can axe the tax here in BC. The alternative is what Trudeau and the NDP are both proposing now, which is that they will quadruple the tax. They want to raise it. This is just the beginning. They want to quadruple the tax up to 61 cents a litre. So you've got another 43 cents of carbon tax hikes coming if Trudeau is re-elected in his coalition with the NDP. What I'm saying is a common-sense Conservative government will axe the federal tax that will free British Columbians to elect a provincial government that will do the same.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Claire Palmer, CBC News. You spoke quite a bit about food insecurity, and I was wondering if you would support a national food school program or school food program, and why or why not?
Well, after 8 years of Trudeau, 1 in 4 school children is going without enough food. That's a major failure for Justin Trudeau. This is after 8 years of promising that he'd help the middle class. Well, now, by his own admission, 1 in 4 kids don't get enough food. I find it ironic that he's promising a federal food bureaucracy in Ottawa the same day as he raises taxes on food. His carbon tax on the farmer who grows the food, and the trucker who ships the food, is a tax on the single mom who can't afford to buy the food. I'm reminded that he brought in an affordable housing program. And what did that do? It doubled the cost of housing. So my common sense plan is to axe the carbon tax to lower the cost of food for everyone so that we can reverse the malnutrition that Justin Trudeau's 8 years have caused. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Drea Humphrey with Rebel News. You've made it very clear if you form government, you will axe the carbon tax. But will you also withdraw us from the underlying United Nations Paris Accord agreement, which allows us to be unfairly taxed on our emissions while giving China a pass?
Well, we will not be unfairly taxed on our emissions, and I will not give China or any other country a pass. We'll we will reduce emissions and costs, but our approach is completely different than Trudeau's. His approach is taxes, mine is technology. His approach is to raise the cost of traditional energy that we still need. My approach is to lower the cost of alternatives. His approach is to put up stop signs in front of our workers. My approach is to green light green projects. We need a massive abundance of clean, green, emissions-free energy by giving fast permits and responsible permits for hydro dams, nuclear power, carbon capture and storage, offshore tidal wave power. These are the kinds of power sources that I will bring home by granting quick but responsible approval so that they can go ahead. That will mean abundant, affordable, clean energy that brings down emissions and the cost of living. Trudeau wants to drive production to dirty dictatorships. I want to bring it home, powerful paychecks for our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Kendall Hansen from Czech News. Nice to see you in Nanaimo again. Just wondering, in terms of the Conservative plan, how would you reduce greenhouse gases? I know you touched on that a little bit, but we haven't really heard a fleshed out plan from the Conservatives on how you're going to reduce greenhouse gases.
Again, our approach is to lower the cost of alternatives rather than raising the cost of traditional energy we still need. That means quickly approving hydroelectric dams in, for example, Quebec, which needs to double its output of hydroelectricity over the next several decades in order to meet the demand for emissions-free energy. We need to green light tidal wave power off the East Coast, the kind that Trudeau blocked with years of bureaucracy. We need to speed up small modular nuclear reactors that will supply clean, green, emissions-free electricity onto the grid. We need to support carbon capture and storage that will allow industry to put emissions back underground where it came from. In other words, where Trudeau proposes taxes, I propose technology. Where he proposes to raise the cost of traditional energy we still need, I propose to lower the cost of alternatives. Where he wants to drive our jobs to dirty dictatorships, I want to bring home powerful paychecks for our people. Thank you.
Thank you. This will be the final question.
Jonathan Bartlett from Global News. Reporters at an anti-carbon tax rally in Hope, BC this morning were harassed and yelled at for being there. How concerning is that for you?
I didn't witness that, so I can't comment on something I haven't seen. But all I can say is that we need to unify our country around an optimistic vision to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.